afternoon. My name is Egbeh Otu, and I am happy to welcome you to ArtliftEd Series. On this series of ArtliftEd, we'll be talking about a subject that has been very important and on the minds of many for a while now, and that has to do with mental wellness, or mental health, as some people like to call it. We all agree that in recent times, the entire globe, all of humanity have been faced with issues that have left everyone anxious, afraid, worried, all at the same time, or one at one time or the other. So today I have with me a very special guest. It's our very first episode of ArtliftEd, and I'm really delighted that he's the person that we're opening this with, because he's been very instrumental to us even coming up on talking about this subject right now. He's been a consultant psychiatrist for over 10 years now. He's helped to shepherd many persons through trauma and mental health challenges. And he's one of the finest minds that I know in mental health practice, mental health medical practice. So I welcome Dr. Egbeh Otu to ArtliftEd today. Dr. Otu, thanks for coming on, and thanks for agreeing to share all of your wisdom with us today.
I'd like to thank you too for the privilege and for the kind introduction.
Thank you so much. I think the privilege is ours. And how are things at the office, Dr. Otu? I know that in Calabar, where you practice, you haven't had a reported case of COVID-19 yet. So I sit in your office now and I'm thinking, how are things with medical personnel over at Calabar now? I'm sure you're not as anxious as those of them who are in Port Harcourt, where I live, and in other cities in Nigeria. But what's the mood, around the practice?
Well, maybe we're even more anxious.
Oh, okay.
My hospital, for instance, skeletal services are being run, patients are being seen, but everybody is also hopeful that very soon all of this will go away, because there's little we can do about it right now. We just have to stay safe and bounce back when all of this is over. And that's one of the things we'll be talking about today. How do we bounce back after adversity?
To talk about this with us today. Thank you for agreeing to be our very first guest on ArtliftEd. And thank you for all of the encouragement and motivation you've been giving to me. I have to just say this now publicly. It's been a struggle for me to deal with these times that we are in. And that has been for personal and then for general reasons. For instance, when the first lockdown was announced in Port Harcourt, where I live, I was in a hospital room with my mother, who was fighting for her life, when I heard that the city was going to be shut down. My house had been shut down for about 3 weeks. I had no food at home. And I was thinking, so if we get discharged now, we get home, how do I get food? I'm not a medical personnel. How do I go out and stock up for food? So you know what I did, doctor? I had to leave her in the hospital and go into the city to get food. It was something we were unprepared for, and I can tell you that it unsettled me quite a lot. But thankfully, we're all back home. We've all been back home for a while. We've adjusted to the situation. And we find what we are seeing now, which is general loss of confidence of almost the entire population in Nigeria in the response by government and other agencies. But you tell me that this is real. This is not something that we can joke with or toy with or play with. and the effects of it are real. I know I've had conversations which you said that. Can you just say something to us a bit about our responses to the uncertainty, to even the misinformation and disinformation and the general, almost general loss of confidence in how government is handling the situation now? What do you think that we should do? What's the right step to take at this time from your perspective as a doctor?
Well, I'd say that one, coronavirus is real. It's related to the family of viruses closely related to SARS virus, severe acute respiratory virus that we must have heard of some time ago. So the virus is real. With regards to what people make of it, a lot of politics has gone on. People have taken advantage of it. A lot of misinformation, like you said, out there. But people are also dying. Fortunately, the case fatality rate is not so high, especially in Nigeria, maybe because of our weather or some other reasons. But it also affords us time to come to terms with issues we may not have handled. The things that are coming up of late, the things that cause us worries, may not be entirely new. But because we have a lot of time, maybe our usual busy schedule, there's a cut, there's a change in our schedule, and we now have more time at home, that forces us to confront things we may be running away from. For instance, couples who may be very busy with their lives, one may be working in another state or somewhere else, but now they are forced together. One would say it's the lockdown causing issues, but they've had issues all along. Now they are forced to confront
that they have been too busy to pay attention to, right?
Exactly. So the issues we're confronting may not entirely be new, but the fact may be that we've not given attention to them. And this might just be that opportunity to handle these issues. And this affords us the opportunity to bounce back stronger. And that's what resilience is about. So it's an opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you brought us, I mean, so this is real. We are dealing with a real situation, and the challenges that we're facing are also real. So there is no denying the fact that the situation is real and the challenges that people are facing are real. I mean, we can say this all over again. Thank you, doctor. So you've brought us back to the reason why we're here, resilience, the ability to bounce back after adversity. Let me just say again to some of the persons who will be joining us now, ArtliftED Series is the place for all lovers of arts, wellness, equality, and development. It is a place where we hold conversations and we seek to ideate on these subjects. So if it is wellness, if it is arts, if it is literature, if it is equality, if it is development, look for us at Artlifted, and we're going to have these conversations, and we're going to have them real. Now, the point of having these conversations is not just for entertainment purposes, even though we don't want you to get bored when you come here. But it is also to drive us to positive action, to uplift us, like we say, art lifted. So it's more like upliftment in an artful way. We do a lot of art here. We write and read poetry. We welcome people who come on the show to read their works and share their works with others, as long as there are those that will uplift every other person to better living, to enjoy arts, to equality, and to development. Well, for gender equality on Artlifted, where there's no mincing words about that. So welcome to Artlifted for some of our friends that have joined us on Facebook as well. So doctor, let me get back to you. The times we're living in, I like to say they're remarkable. We're living history. Tell us something that we need to bear in mind, even though these are issues that we may have had, like you said, and we are now having to confront them. For instance, I personally have had to deal with some mild depression sometimes, and sometimes, in fact, many times anxiety. You know, I have anxiety issues. I remember the times when I would call you and say, am I all right? This is happening. And you would say, and he's so good at saying, you're building resilience, just hang in there, hang in there. Tell us something that we need to know right now. We're dealing with things that we've had stored somewhere. Still, doctor, it's challenging. How do we go about navigating this? Sometimes anxiety, sometimes depression, sometimes family issues that we've decided not to look at in the eyes. What do you suggest that we do?
I must start with saying well done for all the good work you and your team are doing with Artlifted. That's why I really agree to be part of this, because one of the most important things we can do is to make our own contributions to improving the lives of people. A lot has happened during this pandemic. One, most people didn't expect it to happen. We had our plans for the year, so it just came, and it looked like we're watching a movie, but it's with us. Eventually, we had to stay at home, and some of us even lost relatives. That can be very painful. Grief is a process. It's not an event. Give yourself some time to heal. You will get through it. We're sorry about your loss, but know that you will get through it. You need to walk yourself through grief. You need to allow yourself some time to heal and get back your life and leave the legacy of your loved one. Some of us have also lost means of livelihood.
Absolutely.
And the economy is not going to get any better. It can be difficult to cope with. But don't forget, anxiety doesn't solve any problem. We could worry from now to tomorrow about how it's going to be. But sometimes we get too worried. We take the anxieties of yesterday, combined with that of today and that of tomorrow. I would suggest take it one day at a time. Focus on having food for that day. I mean, necessities. And when you work hard, God is going to bless the little we do. So don't worry too much about the future. Just focus on surviving. Also, people have to grapple with issues of meeting certain expectations for the year. But always remember, it's a good thing to be alive. I mean, if there's life, there's hope. So we're going to get to talk a little more about it. Be kind to yourself. Don't be too hard to yourself. So take it one day at a time as it comes. This is going to be over. View it as an opportunity to get stronger, as an opportunity to develop qualities or habits that will be more helpful or more beneficial than the ones we previously had. View it as an opportunity to grow. It's not a challenge we cannot overcome. We will overcome in this. And in the process, we'll get stronger. We'll get more resilience.
Thank you. I like what you just said. We will overcome it. We will overcome it. You know, sometimes I personally...
Because I specialize in the mind. You know, the way the mind was created, where we sometimes underestimate our potential. So we will. I mean, it's scientific to say we will overcome this. Just view it as an opportunity to grow.
So we are built to overcome adversity.
Of course.
Okay. So because sometimes when I think like that, I feel like, am I just being too defiant? I want to share with us a poem I wrote recently. I think it was during one of those days when I sat and it was like, how do we do this? What's happening? I was going to feel a little bit hopeless, but then I decided to write about it in a way that when I look at it now, it appears that I was so hopeful. But the truth is that I wasn't really feeling so hopeful that day. I was just trying to be defiant. I don't know if you've read this on my website. Let me just share it on the screen now. I titled the poem, We Live. I hope everyone can see it now. Can we? Dr. Otu, are you seeing it? I used to
Yes, I can see. We live.
Yes, that's the title of the poem. So it just goes to what you have just said now, that we will survive it. So I was speaking like the expert when I wrote this poem, and I said we live. Let me just take a minute to read it. It goes like this. The smell of death billows, threatening to consume, zest for life. The leaves, branches that sway to the music of the wind are storm falling across our footpaths and highways. A towering shadow stalks, reaping, harvesting where our tears, blood, and sweat sowed, gaslighting us as it does. But we resist, we fight with everything. We smell life, we live until death leaves, and we live alive.
I think I
So
remember reading it.
So I hope I read it well. But those were just my thoughts. At the time that I was feeling, I think what happened then was I was reading about lots of deaths, and we were hearing a lot of those from the Western countries and also in Nigeria here. And then we started to hear about people that were really close to us, like in Port Harcourt here, and some of our friends in other cities were losing loved ones. And I thought it was just a challenge to begin to think about how death is smelling closer and closer to us here, from watching it on the screens about happenings in Italy and the United Kingdom and the United States of America, to us just realizing that it's an attack on humanity in general. So, but the message, like you sent, is that we can overcome this. We can come out of any kind of adversity, including the one that we are facing now. Let's go to the next aspect of this. Writers, we who write, we are known to be persons who like to, generally, and I know that individuals differ, but some of us, many of us are known to be persons who like to walk in isolation, like to be by ourselves. I am included. But we don't like to be forced to be by ourselves. So this has been a challenge on our creativity as well. We want to be creative. We want to be able to be alone, not forced to be alone. We want to be inside, not because we're afraid that if we step outside, we're going to pick up one virus and come back ill. So we have not been able to be creative in spaces where we are able to even make a living from our arts as we're supposed to. As you know, libraries are shut down, schools are closed. I have colleagues who used to sell their books in schools. They're back home now. I've spoken to writers who are women who, when I ask, how is it going with your writing? They're like, I spend all the time taking care of people at home, cooking, feeding, washing, cleaning, traditional roles have been assigned to women. So this has negatively impacted our creativity. If there is an art to resilience, if there is an art to resilience, how do writers appropriate some of that art to accommodate being creative while trying to be resilient? I mean, taking into consideration all of these factors that I've told you about.
Yes, there is an art to resilience. And I like this expression, the art of resilience. Writers, in addition to the things you've mentioned, are also people who have emotional depth. I know there are some journalists in the house, so you get to hear a lot of stories, things happening, and these things can also have an effect on us. But it can also be a strength. It can also be put to good use. We can learn to turn challenges into opportunities. If we cannot change the situation, we can make the best of the situation. So even though the way we wanted to reach our goal may be affected by a certain situation, instead of spending time bemoaning our woes. We can look for another way. What matters is we get to our goal. And a lot is involved in the term arts. But what matters is that we can find a way towards our goal, which is resilience. It involves certain skills, certain processes within us. If we know well our destination, we can find different ways of getting it. That's one reason why I like the term arts. There's not one way to resilience. We're different as individuals. But hopefully in this discussion, we will understand where our destination is. And we can search ourselves, know our situation, and arm ourselves with some tips we can use in our individual ways to get to the destination, that of building resilience. So yes, there is an art to resilience.
The art to resilience is an art that writers can appropriate for the good of their art as well. Thank you. We'll soon get to that because I would like you to go ahead and give us some tips that we can live by or remember in the quest for mental wellness. So if you're just joining us, this is Artlifted Conversations, and we are talking today to Dr. Egbeh Otu, who is a consultant psychiatrist. Yeah. Please, can every other person mute their microphones? Thank you. So Dr. Otu is a consultant psychiatrist who's been working with victims of trauma and helped them to recovery for more than 10 years now. We asked him to come into the house and discuss with us the peculiar challenges that we are facing now in the very uncertain times. We have the COVID-19 pandemic. And just as if that wasn't enough, Doctor, we have the unrest going on all over the world now about racial inequalities, violence, and racism. And then back home, we have also the disturbances from the rape incidents and murders that have been happening all over Nigeria, which thankfully there's been a spotlight on. In fact, we're even coming back in this room on Wednesday to have a serious conversation on that. So we're talking to Dr. Egbeh Otu, who is a consultant psychiatrist, about resilience, about the art of resilience. So can you please give me a second? Sorry, guys, there's been a sort of distraction from my end here. You know, we're all working from home now, so this is the new normal. Sometimes people just barge in and interrupt what we're doing. But I think we're used to it. And it's kind of exciting, you know, because, you know, when you go to work the days before now, you stay back where you are and wonder what's happening at home. Now you stay at home and know that what's happening is that they're going to barge in on you at the slightest notice. So we're back, Doctor. Talking about the art of resilience. Before you give us the points that you said you are going to give us tips on how to deal with this, your work, you've dealt with people who've passed through times as this, specifically now with people who are facing grief. I know that you've said this before, and I want to say this to them again. People are talking to you now and you've lost a loved one, you've lost a friend, a family member, or just someone that you know and admire, and you're dealing with the grief now. Our hearts go out to you. I can't say that I know how you feel, but I feel your pain, and I hope that you find the strength to recover from this. I hope that those of us as well who have lost our livelihoods can find our feet and get back on. It is difficult times, but like the doctor has said, we can overcome it and we will overcome it. So just condolences to those who've lost loved ones, and prayers to them and to those who are fighting battles. Some physically seen, some we may never know emotionally, and the rest of it. So, doctor, you've seen people who pass through times like this come out of it. How long does it take? Do we come out with scars, or do we come out whole again? For instance, the hyper anxiety that I have had to experience, thanks to you. I'm going to share later on what happened with the tip that you gave to me and how I've used it to help others. This hyper anxieties, this heightened sensitivities to things that we've been experiencing, will it get better, or will we have to continue to live with it in some way, even if this is over?
Unfortunately for me, most of the time I work with people who already have illness. And usually before people come down to having illness, which would indicate that the problem, the challenges on mental health have mounted to the point where I'd like to call it a fracture to the mind. So at that point when they come, all we can do is to stabilize them and prevent the illness from getting worse. But I've also noticed that there's a lot I can do before they come down with illness. At the point where people are grappling with challenges, there's a lot that can be done to prevent this.
That's why we're here.
That is one of the reasons. Yes, that's one of the reasons I'm doing this. It doesn't have to get to illness, because the way the part of the brain we call the mind was made, it's so well protected. There are so many things to prevent harm. So before it gets to that point where there's illness, a lot of damage has been done. But we can prevent illness. The major problem we have is people know very little about their psychological and mental health. And with this kind of conversations, we're hoping that people don't have to come down with illness. There's a lot we can do. There are people I get to meet with, and we're able to walk through changing the way they approach stressful situations, and they get better, and they look at life from a fresh perspective. And that is why I say yes, adversities can be seen as opportunities to grow instead of insurmountable challenges. It's all about how you see it. So yes, if you look at it as an opportunity, you overcome it and you will get stronger. So it is possible. I've seen a lot of people in my work who are determined to change their perspective from seeing that situation, that challenge as insurmountable, to seeing it as an opportunity, as a stepping stone to greatness. We cannot control what happens in life. Challenges will always come. But what matters is, how do I see these challenges? How do I respond to them? What do I make of them? This can make a difference.
Thank you, doctor. So you say that you have seen people in your practice who have come in before they are at the point of illness. Can you mention some of the things that you refer to as illness, doctor?
I didn't get that.
Can you please mention some of the things that you refer to as illness, so we know what you mean by coming before you're ill, so we can be looking out to prevent some of these things? Or if we have it already, we know that we're ill.
Permit me to share a few stories, maybe just one.
Okay.
Because if I were to mention the different types of mental illness, maybe I'll just run through a few. We have mood disorders like depression, like bipolar disorders. We have psychotic disorders like schizophrenia. We have substance abuse disorders. We have anxiety disorders, so many of them. Now, I'll give a small example. I got to work in a place where I didn't have to wait for people to come down with mental illness before seeing me. I worked in a general hospital setting.
Okay.
And what I did first was try to increase the ability of the other general medical practitioners to detect when people are having challenges with their mental health. I didn't have to wait for them to develop illness. Now, I was sent a lot of referrals. If they notice that people are having some challenges with their mental health, they will get them to come see me. But most of the patients I saw didn't quite have mental illness, but they were on the way to having mental illness. An example is a young woman. An example is a young woman who was sexually abused as a child.
Back again, sex abuse.
Yes, so she's been struggling with a lot of issues. She's seen a lot of doctors because the symptoms, the physical symptoms she had looked like physical illness. Of course, the mind there's something we call somatization, where the mind changes psychological distress to physical symptoms. A lot of Nigerians have it. They will keep treating for malaria, typhoid, some other condition, a variety of physical symptoms that just will not go away.
Perhaps you just diagnose me.
So for her, she had to
perhaps you just diagnose now to check if I have those.
A lot of us have physical symptoms that we think is from physical illness, but is actually from psychological distress. Okay. So when I assessed her, I found out the problem was not physical illness. She's been taking a lot of antibiotics. She's done a lot of things that has affected her life. It was affecting her productivity, her work. And then I gradually took her on a journey to realize that this is where your problem is coming from. And she made significant improvement. For instance, she wasn't comfortable in the company of men. She wasn't comfortable with her sexuality. And she didn't know it was from the childhood history of sexual abuse. So by the time we took her through that journey, she began to be comfortable with her body. She began to be comfortable in the presence of others, her family members, and the physical symptoms gradually reduced and went away. That's just an example. She had not got to the point where she came down with a depressive condition or an anxiety condition, which is quite difficult to treat. I didn't have to use antidepressants, but with psychological methods, we were able to help her see this is where the problem is coming. This is what you made out of that negative event. Now, this is how we can appraise this event and we can change the narrative. And when she was looking at these difficulties with a fresh perspective, the physical symptoms reduced. She was happier with herself. It didn't have to get to that point where mental illness will now develop. So
Thank you so much. You're going to return to have a conversation with us on trauma of sexual abuse on Wednesday. You just have to return. But you've said something that I find very interesting. So the trauma or the disturbances that we have to our emotions and moods and our mental wellness now might present as physical ailments.
Very true. And the way the mind does it, yes, the way the mind does it is unconscious. So you're not aware of it. Mm-hmm. And now psychiatrists are making an effort to even educate other medical doctors that when people are having symptoms, you've given a lot of medication, sit back and have a chat about the person's life. You remember the experience you shared with me some time ago?
Sure, and I just want to share
that smart doctor, who decided to sit back and have a chat with you. It made a difference.
Absolutely.
So that happens. Somatization, we can check it out. Yeah.
Absolutely. So she, if I just take a minute, she listened to me. I was presenting with things. I could hardly walk. My knees were weak. And I thought I was, you know how it is with me. I can think of the worst but I was in this doctor's office and the younger doctor took me to her. She's a physician. And she said, "What is the matter?" I told her. Then she said, "What's going on?" I laughed, I scoffed. I'm like, so much going on. I can't even talk about it. And then she said, "Well, I want to listen." So she pulled a chair and said, "Sit down." And I said, "I don't know where to start." Said, "Lots. I can't even." She said, "That's no issue. Just sit down and talk." I said, "Where do I start?" She said, "Start anywhere." And I started to unburden like one or two to her. Then she said, "That's from where all of these pain in your body is coming from. I thought it was a little bit woo, like, why is the pain coming from this? Then she had a little longer conversation with me. And you know, by the time I left the doctor's office, my knees were no longer feeling the way they were feeling. I can't remember what I took, but I was better. So yes, that's true. We can actually present with
So,
physical ailments.
so sharing your experiences solve up to 50% of the problem. Sometimes the mistake we make is we don't share, we just keep it all within us. So I'm happy the word you used, you unburdened yourself, and that contributed to your feeling better.
Yeah, thanks, Doctor. Onboarding, I mean, sharing is something that I do a lot, which is one of the things that informed my decision to begin these conversations, because it has really helped me. And just before you give us the tips that we need to strengthen our art of resilience, and before we shut down, I just want to say thank you to you. A couple months ago, in fact, it was about the end of last year that I conceived of this program, and I started to talk to people about it, you know, having conversations like this. And then while we're at it, you know, some personal issues cropped up we had to attend to, and then we had, all of a sudden, I felt like I was shutting down, and I was bearing it all by myself until I called Dr. Otu and said, I don't know what's happening with me. I don't know who has occupied my mind, but I need help. I need help. And you know the thing you asked me to do, doctor, you said, write down all of the things you're feeling and send to me at the end of every day. And we're going to talk about it by the end of the week. Did I send you stuff for up to a week? No, I think I didn't send it for up to a week.
You know, you got better, you know, in about 3 days. And I must say, you are an inspiration because you apply the tips that I suggest and it works.
Yeah.
And remember, I said something about sharing. It's part of the art of resilience. Keep sharing. Don't keep it to yourself. Let's learn to lean on each other.
Yeah, thank you so much. So a friend later called me. She's one of the sunniest people I know. She gets into the room, everyone is happy. She's the happiest person, perhaps one of the happiest people I know. Then one day she calls me from out of the blue and says, I don't know what's going on with me, Eka. I don't know, maybe I'm getting depressed. I just don't want to do anything. She started to tell me, and I said, oh, I'm so sorry about this. What are you doing about it? She said, I don't know. I was saying I'm going to come over and see you today. I just don't know what's happening with me. It's been happening for about more than a week now. She started to tell me all of that. I said, well, something like this was happening to me last month, and I spoke to somebody, and this one said, just write down your thoughts. You know, she called me like 4 days later and said, it helped me. It helped me. I'm getting better. Just writing those things that I was feeling down, put it into perspective that I never thought about, you know, before. So it's a really great thing to have someone like you to share with. And we must acknowledge right now that not everyone has people who are understanding and knowledgeable enough to share with, if they do want to share with someone. One of the reasons why these conversations are on, I just want to share our flyer now so that whoever is viewing can take the numbers that are there, if you can see them. If you want to ask any questions or make any inquiries of me or of Dr. Otu on issues that you feel that are urgent and you want to talk about with someone, you can reach us through the numbers that are on your screen right now. I know that Dr. Otu will not be consulting online, but he's a friend of the house. I mean, he can answer questions that will not have to distract him when he's attending to his patients. He can answer those questions and get back to you. So I'll put up the flyer later. Dr. Otu, give us the tips. I've taken my pen up now. I want to write, and I think that everyone who's watching wants to write. As creative people, like I said, Artlifted is a place for book lovers, it's a place for writers, it's a place for artists, it's a place for anyone who has any interest in arts, in wellness, in equality, and in development. Here is where we have those heart-to-heart conversations. Here is where we share ideas. You can tell us about the things that have worked for you, and we can also share the things that have worked for us. In the end, we intend to ideate these issues in such a way as to enable us to take positive actions that will uplift us, that will uplift us. You know, like we like to say on ArtliftEd. Thank you for being with us thus far. Let's take the tips from Dr. Otu now. What are those things that we need to bear in mind to develop the art of resilience as writers and as people who love literature, or just as human beings?
Okay, I'd first say that I promise Artlifted that I'll be committed to working with you some more.
Wow.
In case, you know, you have challenges with writers, because if this is my own little contribution to literary development in Nigeria, that's fine. So feel free to send me any challenges, you know, writers and others in your group are having. I will, you know, tips that.
Thank you.
And
we trust that you will do this for us. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm also excited to see Phineas in the house. It's been a long time I saw him.
Yes.
Now
good afternoon. Yeah. Good afternoon, Dr. It's good to see you too. Sorry I came in late, but I'm here now.
Yeah, so mute your microphone. We want to take tips. My pen is out. I hope everyone has their pens to take this down. Doctor, your microphone is muted.
So I have 5 points that are very helpful, especially to those in the creative arts. One is, don't stay indoors, get outside. That may seem like the coronavirus different from the pandemic suggestion of stay at home, but by this I mean get some sunlight. Don't spend all the time on your couch. Get some sunlight, do some exercise. Very helpful for mental health.
Sorry, do we need to register in the gym to exercise? Is it that gym kind of exercise for?
Even taking a walk is helpful.
Okay, thank you. So we can all afford the exercise you're talking about.
For instance, after maybe struggling to meet a writing project, or you meet some frustrations, instead of settling on the couch with Coke, burger, you know, in front of the TV, go take a walk. A walk would do better for you than settling in front of the TV. Sorry, I wasn't talking about you. But the point is, get some sunlight, do some exercise.
In a couch potato.
Yes, don't be a couch potato.
Okay.
Now, one tip I'd like to share is get help. You know, we're talking about this just about, I think, a day or so after the Bollywood actor died. He was found dead in his home.
Oh, yeah.
One of the reasons may be the stigma around seeking help for mental health issues. So he struggled.
Hello? Hello? I think his internet is having issues. We can just hold on for him. Phineas, are you hearing Dr. Otu?
I think he has network problems.
Okay, so we can just hold on a minute.
Wait for him. Yes, wait for him.
With it on his own, and eventually people are thinking it might be suicide. But he invited us to seek help.
Dr. Otu, interrupt you.
You mentioned.
Hello, hello, Dr. Otu. Yeah, you just froze for a minute. So if you can take us back a bit on that second tip. You were talking about the Bollywood actor who took his life, and because of stigma surrounding depression. He's muted. Right?
I think my network.
Yeah. You're back on now. Please go ahead.
Your microphone is muted. Okay, I think you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. I can hear you. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Hello?
We can hear. Go ahead.
Hello?
Oh, he may
You
just be
can
the
hear
one who's
me?
not hearing us. Hello, Dr. Otu, we can hear you.
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Is it
Go
my
ahead.
speaker?
It might be your own speaker. Can somebody, okay, let me chat him up.
Hello?
You can hear you.
Oh, I'm trying to send the
Hello?
chat.
Can you hear me?
Certainly.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
We can hear you very well. This is one of the joys of the
Hello?
internet. We can hear you very well. This is one of the joys. Okay, please, we can hear you. Please speak on, speak on. Probably his speakers are not working. Oh, okay. Well, while we wait for him to go back or try and get back online, I think that what we have heard from the conversation today is that it is not unusual that people are confused, people are anxious, people are worried about the times that we're living in. We were just talking about COVID-19-ing. I like to call it COVID-19-ing. And by that, I mean living through the pandemic that we're living in now. It's been a challenging time for everyone. That it's not unusual. Dr. Tu, are you back on now? It is not unusual for people to feel disoriented by the things that are happening now, anxious and afraid. And it is okay for us to understand as well we all recover from this. We can all recover from this. We definitely can recover. Now, what is left is for us to develop the skills that will help us to build resilience, to recover sharply, to recover back to where we can function normally, aside from the fears and all of the worries and anxieties that we know these times come with. Dr. Tu, we can see that you're back on now. Can you hear us? Okay, so
Yes, I'm back in.
you were
Yes, I
just
can
about
hear
to
you.
round off.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Yes.
We're just
Yes.
about to
So
round
I've
off with the
shared two.
tips for us to build our resilience skills. There is an art to resilience, and we need to know the things that will enable us to build that art to do well. So if you can just unmute now and continue to give us the second, third, fourth, and you said 5.
Yes. So I've shared get outside. I've shared get help. I've also talked about socialize. And another one is have a schedule. Work by routine.
Doctor, let me
Mental
take
health
you
is
back.
better.
Sorry, let me take you back a little bit. When you mean socialize, what do you mean? The clubs are shut down in Port Harcourt where I live. There's no parties, no weddings. What do you mean socialize?
Yes. Some writers may feel more comfortable sharing their thoughts with their pen or their keyboard than talking with people. So you can pick up a phone call, communicate with your family, have real-time conversations than just spending time with your notepad and your computer. Cultivate friendships, value relationships, family, old friends, keep those relationships alive. That's what I mean by socialize.
Okay, thank you.
That's why we're even trying to reduce this expression social distance. to physical distance.
Okay,
You know,
great.
social distance would mean do not be social, but we can keep these social ties alive, even if we're not physically, you know, in the same space. Like now, we're communicating, but we're not in the same place, you know, in the same physical location. So it's important to invest in relationships. So that's what I mean by socialize. Now, the fourth point is live by schedule. Even if we're working from home, have a schedule for the day. It's difficult to find a balance between family responsibilities if we have, you know, we're not living alone, and our professional responsibilities. But try to have a workable schedule and stick to it. The mind does better when we are doing the same thing about the same time every day. So have your time for sleeping, schedule sleep.
You mean we should
Have your
schedule
time to
sleep?
sleep. Well, don't forget, you know, your meal times. And of course, at meal times would mean that's not also time for social networking. You keep the phones away and, you know, observe the ritual of meal time. It's good for mental health. Set your sleep time and your waking time. It's also very important for mental health. Writers are more likely to have this kind of lifestyle where, okay, as the inspiration comes, you get up, you write something, you feel like taking a drink, you take a drink. You know, you just, sometimes your whole apartment is almost like a mess, but you need to get inspiration. That may not
How
be
do you
good
know
for
these
mental
things?
health.
Looks like you
Try,
used to write sometimes too.
well, I've worked with a lot of people, you know,
I
and
know, I
so
know.
that's why it's important to try to have a schedule. Yeah, you know, that you live by. It's better for mental health. It doesn't have to be rigid, but something realistic and try to stick to it. You get a lot more work done if you work with a schedule. And the final thing I'd like to mention as part of these tips in the, you know, that are helpful to writers is do not be too hard on yourself. Be nice to yourself. We may have a tendency towards being a perfectionist. I mean, that's why we're so good at what we do. But you need to be your best friend, like you told me some time ago. Be nice to yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. If you don't meet deadlines, doesn't mean you're a failure. You know, talk well about yourself and motivate yourself to do what is needed. You know, it's criticism is not as good a kind of motivation as encouragement. So even if you don't meet deadlines, instead of criticizing yourself so much, uh, identify what you've done right and then encourage yourself, okay, try and meet this up, even though you're not where you want to be.
Wow.
Count your, you know, so it's important for us to be nice to ourselves. That helps us, you know, to move forward instead of breaking down when we are going through challenges. If we're harsh to ourselves, it will worsen the pressure on our mind and the mind break. So I think these 5 tips have helped a lot of people to move forward as writers. You can be the best of what you need to be. You have many more years ahead of you. It doesn't have to end like it ended for the Bollywood actor. You know, we can, if we develop this art of resilience, the world can benefit a lot from our creativity.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, I was just taking it down. Tip number 1, stay indoors. Oh, yeah. Trust me to say stay indoors because I want to stay indoors. So tip number 1 is step outside. Step outside. So by that you mean we can just go out of the house, take sunlight, walk. If we don't have money to register in the gym, we can walk around our neighborhood, we can jog and all that. Then the next one is get help. And this is one you said it's important because like you noted, some persons are always thinking, how do I get a therapist to talk to me? It's really expensive. I mean, I myself, it's hard. We cannot afford some of these things. But you have clarified here that the help might be someone who we trust or a mature person who we are sure can provide help. Because again, we can't get help from anybody. There are people who are going to go to get help from, and we're just going to get worse by talking to them. So yeah, we should get help from people who are able to help us. And then we should socialize, reach out to people. I said this to people as well. It's good to have all of this followership on social media and the rest of it, but you need to also have somebody who in real time, whether the person is someone you met on social media or in real life, but you can always go to the person and talk to the person one-on-one, like in real terms, you know. You can cry ugly with the person. You, you can say all of the ugly stuffs that you don't want to say to people who you just met online. So we need to socialize like that with family and friends. And then you say we should have a schedule. This is a tough one, doctor, but I'll try and live by it because I know you know what you're talking about. We need to have a schedule, and we need to even try and schedule sleep. I don't know how I will do that one because I don't know when I wake up. I wake up and I sleep at funny times. We'll talk about that off camera. And then you said we should be our own best friends and cheerleaders. This is really good. I love this one because sometimes we are like our worst critics. We think our hair is ugly. We think our face is not the best. We think the things we do are not good enough. But I think what you're saying is that we should think of ourselves the way we would think of a best friend that we love so much. I'm not sure I'd go to my very good friend and say, oh, your hair is terrible. It's the last thing I would say. I mean, even if the hair wasn't in top shape, I would say, well, it can be better, but don't worry, you're beautiful and all that. Just to try and get the person in a good mood to even look at the hair again. So we should try and talk to ourselves nicely if we are going to build our resilience and deal with all of the upheavals that have come upon us. Thank you so much, Dr. Otu, for being with us. Because of internet hitches and the rest of them, we've taken your time more than we should have taken. Thank you so much. Everyone in this room benefited from you. I don't know if there's anybody who wants to say something to Dr. Otu, who is in the room now. There's Happiness, there's Finehas, there's Cheesy, there's Nika. Sorry, I can only see this page now.
There's Paul.
Who wants to say something in 30 minutes to Dr. Otu? Otherwise, you have a chance now. Okay,
I'd like to say
something.
I appreciate I appreciate the tips he has given. In fact, yesterday we're having challenge with this issue of social distancing and physical distancing. The minister has asked that jingles should be redone. Jingles that they are always using social distance they should redo it to use physical distancing. I think that makes sense because when the biggest mall in Abuja has been shut down because of this issue of social distancing, those that went for that Naira Marley show said they were bored at home. It was when they had, I think since this lockdown started, the first hit program that has come out, everybody come home, that was the first one. And so they were not educated
people are tired of just being bored at home.
So I think this issue of social, we really need to talk about it. People will those that you'll be surprised that those who are arrested too, they were writers there. They were journalists who just heard that this is a show and they just went out. Even till this moment, how the guy came into Abuja and how he got back to Lagos, we are still being asked to trace how he
did miracle.
So okay. Artists, Nollywood, Bollywood, everybody that should this I think we are the first people that should educate others on the need to stay at home, not staying at home. Now he has also corrected the issue of staying at home. When you stay at home, come out small. But don't go
to Naira Marley show. Yeah, a journalist.
No,
I hope you don't want to say we should go to any show right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Happiness wants to say something.
Yes, I really want to appreciate Dr. Otu. Thank you for coming out today to remind us to always improve our appreciative intelligence. Okay, because everything you told us about today is all about appreciative intelligence, how we can be resilient, how we can change our outlook, our perspective about every situation. Okay, thank you so much. And also, I like the fact that you made mention of investing in relationships.
Very important.
Yes, investing in relationship and socializing. So, and today we have a lot of people having 1 million followers on Facebook, Instagram, and the likes. But you also see that these people, when the challenges come upon them, you can also see them trying to commit suicide. You can also see them trying to take their lives, you know, because they are only on social media, but they are not actually socializing. They are not actually building having investing in relationships. Okay, like you mentioned in the second tips that you gave to us, get help. You can only get help from those you have relationships with. Okay, that's the only people you can get help from, because having 1 million people who you send your pictures, who you send everything, especially these days that we have fake lives everywhere, you're not actually building a relationship, you know. So thanks so much for reminding us that having 1 million followers doesn't guarantee our investment in relationships. We need to take it down to the roots.
Thank
And
Yes.
you.
also, yes,
Thank you, Miss Happiness. We have to leave here at the 120 mark.
Okay.
We are about exceeding 1 hour. So please.
okay, I have something to say to you, Kaite. I have something to say to you.
Oh,
This program is for the writer, right?
it's for
I'm telling you
everyone.
that
It's for everyone. It's for writers. It's for lovers of literature. It's for people who are interested in
okay.
wellness, like you. For
Okay,
people who
I thought it's strictly
development.
for writers, because I'm not a writer, but I've learned a lot today. So
No,
thank you. I think you should extend it to every other
oh,
person.
sure. It's
All
for
right.
everyone. It's just the
We can all be
Thank you.
lifted
Thank you.
through the arts.
Thank you for being here. Dr. Otu, do you want to say anything last minute before I give the closing remarks?
I was just saying that all of us can be uplifted. Arts can be used to lift us up. I mean, art is very important. And I like the work you're doing. And I appreciate Miss Happiness' comments, her comments, you know. Remember, to have good friends, you yourself must be a friend. So I think I like that emphasis on physical friendship, not just what social network does may not be real friendship. You know, real-time friendships are more important. So I appreciate those comments. And see you on Wednesday.
Oh yeah, see you on Wednesday. And I just want to add as well there that some people have gone on to develop very real friendships from the people that they met on social media. So I would like to say that social media by itself is superficial, but you can leverage on some of the
On
connections
that.
you make on Facebook or on other social media, Twitter, Instagram, and the rest of them, and still form deep and meaningful relationships.
From there.
Yeah, because that's the key. You can be with people in the same room and you don't have anything deep and meaningful with them. But you can also be with people on the social space, virtual space like we are now, and you are able to call Chitty at the end of this program and say, hey, Chit, what's up? Can you give me the latest fish in the market? What's happening with chefs and the rest of them in the world? So it really depends on what your intentions are when you're connecting with people. So we should be intentional about having connections, real connections with people that we can hold on to in times when we ourselves don't feel as if we are really balanced to be able to do. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us again. Artlifted is a place where we ideate arts, wellness, equality, and development. We try to find the connections between these four, and then we try to find the points of positive action that will uplift us. Today, we talked about the art of resilience. Dr. Egbeh Otu, who is a consultant psychiatrist, has been dealing with victims of trauma came in and he gave us a few tips on how we can overcome the uncertainties of the times that we find ourselves in, talking about the COVID-19 pandemic. And, you know, in addition to this, we have had other unrest, including the issue of rape that is really, 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 really disturbing right now. We're going to be back in my meeting room on Wednesday to talk about the issue of rape. I'm going to give the information as soon as we shut this down. Dr. Otu, thanks once again. We know that some persons are viewing this on Facebook Live, and some of our friends will be viewing it on YouTube later when I upload it on my YouTube channel, Ekaite George. Please go over to Ekaite George channel on YouTube and like, subscribe to my channel, like, and share the posts where you find them on Facebook or on Instagram or Twitter. Now, the point of this is somebody out there will be uplifted or uplifted with the conversations that we hold in this space. And you don't want to be the person who's like or share or not liking or not sharing has deprived anyone from benefiting from these conversations. You're also welcome to collaborate with us to talk about any issues of concern, as long as they fall within the ambit of development, of equality, of literature or arts, and of wellness. We are ready to collaborate with you to have these conversations. Our numbers are on our flyers. I don't know how you got to know about this event, even on Facebook where some persons are watching, our numbers are there. If you have any questions or comments, suggestions for improvements you want to make to us, please do send us text messages on our number or comments or inbox for your tips and your comments. Dr. Otu has offered to take questions and answers and answer them to persons who are dealing with issues where they need some sort of help with mental wellness. You can also reach us with your questions and we can pass them on to him and he will help you. So thank you for being with us today. Thank you for joining us in this meeting. Arts can uplift us. Arts can make our society better. There is an art also to living. There is an art to wellness. There is an art to equality and to development. And those are the issues that we endeavor to talk about here on ArtliftED. Thank you, everyone. Bye.